Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 running backs who will win you your fantasy league in 2024 fantasy football. But before we get into these 5 league-winning running backs, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into 5 running backs who will win you your fantasy league in 2024 fantasy football. We begin with my first running back league winner, and that is Saqoun Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles, current underdog ADP running back 6 at pick 16.2. I have been seeing a lot of commotion, a lot of people that are scared. They're petrified of drafting Saqoun Barkley. They're worried that Jalen Hurts is going to push his way into the end zone roughly a gazillion times, and it is going to suck all of the value out of Saqoun Barkley because he won't be able to score touchdowns. Now, we are going to do a thought exercise real quick. We are going to think about the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line last season versus this season. The biggest change is at center. Jason Kelce has retired. He is now a podcaster just like me. One in the same, me and Jason Kelce. So, Jason Kelce is crucial to the tush push. He is the most important player to the tush push, and now he is gone. Will the Eagles still be able to do the tush push? Probably. But I do not think it will be anywhere near as effective as it used to be. And I also think that with a running back like Saqoun Barkley, who is an absolute bulldozer in the red zone, they are going to utilize him more than they would have a guy like DeAndre Swift, who's a little pipsqueak out there compared to a guy with the calves like Saqoun Barkley built by the Greek gods. I know Saqoun Barkley was disappointing last season in New York, but who on the Giants wasn't a complete and utter disappointment? Running back 13 last year in PPR, 9 in PPR points per game, 14 games played, 247 carries, 8th at running back, 16th in rushing yards, 15th in targets, 20th in receptions, 20th in receiving yards, and 11th in total touchdowns. Though he was 3rd in dominator rating, 15th in breakaway run rate, and 18th in yards created, I do not think that you guys should be worrying about Saqoun Barkley. I still think he is going to get his touchdowns. He is going to get his touches. He is the clear workhorse running back, the clear bell cow back on the Philadelphia Eagles. There aren't many bell cow running backs in the National Football League anymore, and I think even with Jalen Hurts in this offense, Saqoun Barkley will still be very successful. They still have a great offensive line, and Saqoun Barkley has been running trains on defenses in the NFL with offensive lines built out of people like me and you, right? I am 5'10", 165, 170 on a bad day, right? And I might be better at blocking than some of those bums on the Giants offensive line. So Saqoun Barkley, I think, is going to have a resurgence in Philadelphia, and I think he might mess around and be the running back number 1. At number 2, we got Derrick Henry. We are staying with the old heads here. Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens. 2 running backs, back-to-back, Michael Jordan 96-97, that have switched teams into significantly better situations. 2 teams that are very run-heavy. Underdog ADP running back 9 at pick 31.9. Now, some people might say that Derrick Henry is getting older and that Derrick Henry isn't as good, as efficient as he used to be. And there's definitely some argument to be had there, right? You could definitely say that Derrick Henry isn't as good as he was a couple of years ago when Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill were essentially bending defenses over a table and Derrick Henry was going to pound town, right? We remember that game up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We remember all of those great games that Derrick Henry has had. But that Tennessee Titans team was in the past, right? They went back to the future, fucking Marty McFly style, okay? That was in the past. That was not the team we saw last season. Derrick Henry is now on a team that made Gus Edwards score a bunch of touchdowns. Gus Edwards. Now, I'm actually a Gus Edwards enjoyer. I'm a Gus Edwards truther, but at the end of the day, Gus Edwards cannot hold Derrick Henry's jockstrap. Derrick Henry was the running back 8 last year in PPR, 16 in PPR points per game, tied with Bijan Robinson. 17 games played. Nick, Derrick Henry, oh, he's so injury prone. He played 17 games last year. He was number 1 in carries, number 2 in rushing yards, 39th in targets, 36th in receptions, 28th in receiving yards, and 6th in total touchdowns. 12 touchdowns for Derrick Henry last year on a Titans offense that was limp dick. Unlike Will Levis in that video that we've all seen, you know, that offense could not get it up. 10th in yards created, 9th in evaded tackles, 8th in breakaway run rate, and 5th in dominator rating. Don't give me that BS about how Derrick Henry can't play ball. Derrick Henry, just like Saqoun Barkley, is a workhorse running back at the National Football League level, even at his age. I get he is never going to be catching a bunch of balls like his name was Riley Reid. But what he's going to do is get a lot of carries and potentially score 18 plus touchdowns. Could he be the running back 1? I think so. Now, the fact that he doesn't catch passes does definitely hurt him, right? It's his Achilles heel. But when you score 18, 20 touchdowns, it probably won't matter. Derrick Henry is still great. He is now on an offense that is going to really utilize him in a great way. There's a team that's going to be scoring a bunch of touchdowns. I know there's going to be games where Lamar Jackson falls ass backwards into the end zone. It's a little bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, Derrick Henry is still that guy, and he's still a decent pass catcher. He would get more pass catching opportunities last season if Tyjae Spears wasn't so good at it. And I think Derrick Henry's stats would have been better if they weren't getting pounded out late in games and they didn't have to switch to Tyjae Spears late in the game. So Derrick Henry is a Ravens team that could really step on the gas against these teams, hit the NOS, double tap the gas at the beginning of a Mario Kart match. So I think Derrick Henry is going to be in a lot of game environments that are very friendly for Mr. Tractor Cito. At number 3, we got Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans, underdog ADP running back 15 at pick 58.7. We're keeping it old school today because, again, I know Joe Mixon is not in his prime of his NFL career. But I don't think Joe Mixon needs to be in his prime to succeed in Houston. He put up very respectable numbers last year on a Cincinnati Bengals offense that was very up and down, right? It was like turbulence on an airplane. Things went incredibly wrong for the Bengals. They start off the season, Burrow's hurt, they look terrible. Bottom of the barrel offensive production, Mixon's still fine. Burrow comes back, he's playing better. It's like, wow, Joe Burrow's no longer banged up. Things are looking great. The Bengals, they're going to be a playoff push. They could win the Super Bowl, this, that, and the other thing. Everyone is gawking on the metaphorical cock of Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow. And then Burrow gets hurt again. And then Mixon is still kind of fine. But the offense is down the gutters, down in the dumps. Now, Joe Mixon is on one of the up-and-coming offenses in the NFL, an offense that I and you should expect to score a bunch of points game in and game out, to be in positive game scripts, to run the ball gently down the stream late in games. Again, I get that he's not the old Joe Mixon, but he's coming off the board as the running back 15, which to me is a sign of disrespect. You come to me on the night of my daughter's wedding and ask me for forgiveness type shit here. Running back 6 in PPR, running back 11 in PPR points per game. 5th in carries, 8th in rushing yards, again, on a Bengals team that was incredibly up and down. 13th in targets, 9th in receptions, 12th in receiving yards. I don't think people talk enough about how Joe Mixon is a solid pass catcher. Is he Christian McCaffrey? No. Is he Austin Eckler back in the day? No. But he's solid. He's rock solid. 6th in total touchdowns. He was 6th in yards created last year. 10th in dominator rating. 14th in evaded tackles. Again, I understand he is getting older, but his competition around him is really bad. Dameon Pierce, I'm a Dameon Pierce guy. He looked awful last season. So is Dameon Pierce going to steal Joe Mixon's job? No. No, he's not. Joe Mixon is in an incredibly safe situation on one of the best offenses in the National Football League that just added Stephon Diggs. It's going to be an offense that is kicking the ever-living shit out of defenses late in the game, and they run the ball. The Houston Texans made Devin Singletary a certified nobody until 2023 look good. You want to know why? Because the Texans are that good. Again, say what you want about Mixon, but I am going to invest in him because of the offense he is in, because of his ADP. To me, it is laughable that he's coming off the board as running back 15. Top 10, top 5 could easily be where he finishes this season. He was number 6 last year, again, on a Bengals team that was just getting tossed around. You know, the production weekly, you never really know what you were going to get. It's like having a box of chocolates, because life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I wish I was a little bit better at that impression, but it is what it is. If you guys have enjoyed thus far, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Make sure you lightly caress the like button as well. It would help me out a ton. Follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFantasy. At number 4, we got Rhamondre Stevenson, and it's back to being Rhamondre Steven season. New England Patriots running back, underdog ADP running back 20 at pick 79.6. Now, last season did not go very well. It wasn't very nice for Mr. Rhamondre Stevenson. Gets hurt, Zeke shows up, and his season got turned upside down like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? No bueno, right? No good. Running back 35 in PPR, 27 in PPR points per game. Definitely a disappointing season for me. After I thought Rhamondre Stevenson has looked good so far in his NFL career up until last season. He was 35th in carries, 37th in rushing yards, 21st in targets, 4.3 targets per game though. I think is important because Stevenson can catch passes. 23rd in receptions, 23rd in receiving yards, and 36th in total touchdowns. Now I know a lot of that receiving upside might go the way of Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson might take over that pass-catching lane, which makes sense, but I still do believe that Stevenson is clearly the number 1 back on this team. Now, do I expect Drake May or Jacoby Brissett to completely reinvigorate this offense? No. No, I do not. But I definitely forecast that this offense is going to be better than the complete and utter shit show that they were last season. Right? This was an offense that was incredibly hard to watch, whether it was Mac Jones, who is now holding the clipboard for Trevor Lawrence up in Saxonville, or Bailey Zappi the Zappinator, right? It didn't really matter. The offense was not good. Am I going to sit here and pretend like the Patriots are going to do this 180 completely? Of course not, because that would be foolish to say. But I think Rhamondre Stevenson is a good enough player in a workhorse running back situation to where if the team is able to just not be completely and utterly terrible, then Rhamondre Stevenson will be able to benefit from that. He was 19th in dominator rating last year. This was a guy that entering into last season, I was incredibly high on. I get that I was wrong last season, but everything went wrong in New England. Uncle Bill Belichick doesn't even have a job right now. I think this is a team that is going to rely on the run with either Jacoby Brissett or Drake May under center. So I am excited to see what Rhamondre Stevenson could do. Again, some of the receiving value will go to the wayside with Antonio Gibson, but I don't think it will completely siphon all the targets from Rhamondre Stevenson. Final guy to discuss here is going to be our number 5 league winner, $5 foot long, Brian Robinson Jr., running back of the Washington Commanders, the man who got shot, and he's still breathing. Shout out 50 Cent. Underdog ADP running back 33 at pick 111.1. Now, I am someone that isn't completely off the Austin Eckler train. Now, I'm not going to sit here and wax poetic about Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler didn't really receive a big payday to join the Washington Commanders. Now, Eckler, I think, is still going to be used. So I think you can draft both Eckler and Robinson in different leagues, right? If you're playing in a couple of leagues, take that shot on Eckler late, take that shot on Brian Robinson late, because I think one of them will end up paying dividends. We've already talked about Eckler previously, though, and the more I think about it, the more I start to like Brian Robinson. Now, the Washington Commanders offensively last year were essentially just Sam Howell saying, fuck it, Terry McLaurin is up there somewhere, or Jahan Dotson or Curtis Samuel, just closing his eyes and basically heaving the thing. This was an offense that basically had to pass a bunch, because as they got deeper and deeper into the game, the bigger and bigger of a hole that they were in. Running back 21 last year, though, for Brian Robinson in a not-so-hot situation. Running back 21 in PPR points per game, tied with his now teammate Austin Eckler. 15 games played, only 11.9 carries per game, 32nd at running back. He was 30th in rushing yards with 48.9 per game, 2.9 targets per game, 27th, 2.4 receptions per game, 25th. He was 14th in receiving yards, 24.5 per game, and 9 total touchdowns, 12th. But if you dive into the efficiency, you can tell that Brian Robinson has some juice. Now, hopefully, this season, with Jaden Daniels under center, with a new offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury, however the hell you say that guy's name, maybe, just maybe, the offense is a little bit better. And again, I am not asking for, just like with Rhamondre Stevenson, I'm not asking for the Commanders to do that full 180, for them to go from an offense that makes you just want to go watch the grass grow outside. You know, I don't think they need to be that much better. It just needs to be better, right? 5.1 yards per touch, 15th. 14th in fantasy points per opportunity. 7th in yards created per touch. 18th in dominator rating. 1st in yards per reception. 5th in yards per route run. So while Eckler is there, this is a guy that can still catch passes. Now, if Eckler is really over the hill, if Eckler is really as washed up as some people might believe, then Brian Robinson can be that league winner. We've seen the skill, we've seen the pedigree out of him, but he was being held like Sauce Gardner was holding him. He was getting held back by the offensive production, which was not good at all. Bad, terrible, no bueno, okay? So Brian Robinson now in what should be a better Commanders offense. I like it. Last year, he ranked 38th in run blocking rating. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the Commanders have the best offensive line in the NFL, but I think things could get better. So Brian Robinson, young running back, some juice, can catch passes, going up against Eckler, who didn't get paid the prettiest of pennies, and looked like trash last season, like really looked bad. He looked like he was running in slow motion, like he was trapped in the Matrix when they're getting shot at and like, whoa, you know what I'm talking about? That's how Eckler was running. He was running like he was stuck in quicksand. Like that one match, or the one map in Mario Kart Double Dash, you know what I'm talking about? Where there's like those crazy sand things like flopping back and forth, looking like Drake on that plane, right? And then there's the sand dunes that you can get like trapped into and sucked into, like the Sarlacc pit. If you know, you know. If you didn't play Mario Kart Double Dash, I probably sound like a buffoon just explaining things. But yeah, running in slow motion, running like he's trapped in quicksand. But while I am still kind of pro Eckler at price at ADP, definitely starting to turn my eye closer towards Brian Robinson. I believe this guy can really play ball. Let's just hope the Commanders aren't absolutely terrible and we get to see that upside. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. While you're down there, make sure you guys leave a like on today's video as well. It helps me out a ton. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen them already. I love you guys all so much from deep down at the bottom of my heart. I hope you guys have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow on Friday. Have a great one. And as always, good boy.